Now that you know the basics on how to create a RESTful web service with Node, it is time that we discuss the Express Web Framework. Coding a RESTful web service with the HTTP module is rather complicated. You can see that some tasks can get difficult to code. For example, filtering by URL, parsing the body of a request, and identifying the HTTP method being used. Express alleviates most of these problems by providing a set of configurable options where you can bind functions to specific URL paths and HTTP methods. To demonstrate this, I use the same project I used in previous lessons. To start using it, I need to initialize the project with npm. I run npm init in a terminal window and answer the prompts. The only thing to verify is that the entry point is server.js. Now, I need to add my dependencies. I use Express and body parser. To add a dependency, I run npm install express ---- save. The save flag adds the dependency to my package.json file. I can also add dependencies without adding it to my project package.json file. This can be useful for testing or if a dependency should not be added to the project because the target environment already includes one. Such is the case with the Oracle Cloud and the Oracle Database driver. Now, I add the dependency to body parser with npm install body parser ---- save. Body parser is a module that works with Express to help me get the body of request easily, leveraging the work of using non-blocking body read mechanism as seen before with the HTTP core module. After the dependencies are installed, it's time to modify the server.js file to use Express instead of the HTTP module. It's a good practice to add the required modules at the beginning of the script. I add Express and body parser modules using required functions and assign them to new variables. The required function returns objects that contains the module, and commonly this variable is used to access the module functionality. Okay? Then, the port variable is the same. We need the port to be configurable by the environment variable or a default one in order to work locally or in the cloud. Now, the movies object is going to be used as well, and for now it will be loaded from the movies.json file. The biggest change comes in the request handler function. That function won't be needed if I use Express. Instead, Express uses independent functions for method and URL paths. But even if I don't need that function, I will keep it because some code from it can be useful. When I am done with Express migration, I will delete it. Time for some Express code. First, I need an application. I create one by calling the Express method. The application object I created is used to configure the entire service. First, I want to use body parser module to allow Express to parse request bodies as JSON objects. This is done with a simple call, app.use body parser JSON. The application must set up then some HTTP methods and URL handlers. First is the get all movies. I need a function for the application that handles the get request made on the / path. This is done with app.get / and then the function that receives a request and a response. The function receives the request and response objects that I can use to get more data and to write the response back to the client. The request and response methods, although similar to the HTTP module objects, are not equal and have their own methods and attributes. For instance, the response is ended with the send method, instead of the end method. To send all the movies I use, response.send, JSON stringify, movies, null, and 2 for pretty printing. Now for a more interesting method, I can add parameters to the URL mappings in the application object. This is done using a colon and then an identifier. Then the mapping app.get / movie index and then the function request response. This helps me map the URL I need to get a path parameter. The movie index parameter is accessed using the request.params.movie_index. Then to parse the index, I need to call var index parseInt request params movie index. And I can reuse the if else statement I use in the HTTP version of the server. Just change response end to response send. And to set the error status to 404, I use the response status method and then send something. The final mapping to replicate is the post operation on the slash path. This is done with app post / function request response. This time, to get the JSON object from the request, it is very simple thanks to the body parser extension with request.body. So, getting the sent object is straightforward. Bar movie equals request.body. Then I just push it to the movies array and finally send the response. To start the server, I use bar server equals app listen port. And that completes the express version of the service. Now remove the request handler function and the old server and server listen statements from the HTTP version. You can run and test the service. If you want to learn more about Express, you can check the Express documentation. You can create a full service that can read, modify, and delete objects using the Express framework.